Hello, lovers of phenomenal stories. Prepare yourselves for a new tale of destiny, family, and a second chance that will touch your heart. Before we begin, tell us in the comments what city you're watching from. And don't forget to hit like on this video and subscribe to the channel if you believe in the power of a single moment to change everything. Are you sure about this, Ethan? His assistant asked, checking the guest list for the third time. Yes, send it, Ethan Pierce replied, without looking up from his laptop. His fingers paused over the keyboard when he saw the name. Julia Hayes. But sir, you yourself told me you didn't want anything to do with. I said send it. The assistant nodded and left the office. Ethan was left alone, looking out the window of his New York City office. In 2 weeks, he would marry Victoria Vance, the daughter of one of the country's most powerful senators. Everything was perfectly planned. The ceremony in the gardens of the Plaza Hotel, 500 guests, the press covering the event, the wedding of the year. His phone vibrated. It was Victoria. My love, did you check the final list yet? Dad wants to make sure all the important business people are there. Yes. It's ready. Perfect. I love you. Ethan hung up without answering. He loosened his tie and closed his eyes. Why had he put Julia's name on that list? They had broken up 3 years ago, after 5 years together. She wanted something simple. He wanted to conquer the world. She talked about family. He talked about business. In the end, she got tired of waiting. Now he had achieved everything he had dreamed of. A technology company valued in millions, government contracts, and a wife who would connect him with the most powerful circles in the country. So why did he feel empty? Part 1. The Unexpected Invitation. Julia was painting when the invitation arrived. Her hands, stained with blue paint, trembled when she saw the elegant envelope with her name written in gold script. "Mommy, what's that?" asked Chloe, her 2-year-old daughter, from the floor where she was playing with her crayons. Nothing important, my love. But Julia knew it was a lie. She opened the envelope and read the invitation twice. Ethan Pierce was marrying Victoria Vance. She had seen the news in supermarket magazines, but receiving the invitation was different. Her phone rang. It was Olivia, her best friend. "Did you see it? It just arrived. Are you going to go?" Julia looked at Chloe, who was now drawing on the floor. The girl had blonde hair and blue eyes, exactly like... I don't know. Julia, it's been 3 years. You have to move on. It's not that easy, Olivia. Why? Do you still love him? Julia didn't answer. Instead, she looked at the drawing Chloe had made. A tall figure in a suit, and a small figure holding his hand. "Who is he, Chloe?" "He's the prince from the story you read me, Mommy. The one who looks like the man in the picture in your room." Julia felt the air leave her lungs. On her nightstand, she had an old photo of Ethan, tucked inside a book. She hadn't known Chloe had seen it. "Olivia, I have to go." That night, after tucking Chloe into bed, Julia sat in her small living room with the invitation in her hands. She had tried to contact Ethan when she found out she was pregnant, but he never returned her calls or emails. After months of trying, she gave up. Now, he was inviting her to his wedding. Was it cruelty, or did he simply not remember what had happened? Julia took out her phone and dialed the number she still had saved. After 3 rings, a voice she hadn't heard in years answered. "Julia, hello. Ethan." There was a long silence. "I received your invitation." "Yes, I wanted you to be there." "Why?" Another pause. "I don't know. Maybe because you were important to me." Julia closed her eyes. Her heart pounded. "Are you coming?" he asked. Julia looked toward Chloe's room where her daughter was sleeping. "Yes," she finally said. "But I'm not coming alone. Are you bringing someone?" "My daughter." Total silence from the other side of the line. "Your daughter? I'll see you at the wedding, Ethan." Julia hung up before he could respond. She sat in the darkness, wondering if she had made the right decision. but it was already too late to turn back. The next day, she bought a navy dress for herself and a pink one for Chloe. When the girl tried on the dress, she asked, "Are we going to meet the prince, Mommy?" Julia stroked her daughter's blonde hair. "Yes, my love. We are going to meet the prince." Part 2. The Innocent. Shout, the Plaza Hotel. Gardens were perfect. White flowers everywhere. Golden chairs arranged in impeccable rows, and an altar decorated like a movie set. Guests arrived in expensive cars, women in elegant dresses, and men in suits that cost more than Julia's salary in 6 months. Julia took Chloe's hand and walked toward the entrance. Her navy dress was simple, but beautiful. Nothing compared to the designer brands the other guests were wearing. Chloe, in her pink dress and favorite white shoes, was jumping with excitement. "Mommy, where is the prince?" "He's not here yet, my love. First, you have to tend to me." Down. An usher directed them to the back chairs. Julia realized it immediately. They had been placed in the last row, far from the important guests. She didn't mind. It was better that way. As they waited, Chloe entertained herself by counting the flowers. Julia watched the guests. She recognized some faces from magazines, businessmen, politicians, famous people. She felt out of place, but took a deep breath. She had come for a reason, though she wasn't entirely sure what it was herself. "Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. The ceremony is about to begin." The music started playing. First, the groomsmen entered. Then the bridesmaids. Finally, Ethan appeared, walking toward the altar with his best man, Marcus. Julia felt the air leave her lungs. He was still the same man she had fallen in love with, tall, with clear blue eyes, with that smile that had captivated her years ago. But there was something different about him. His eyes looked tired, as if he hadn't slept well in weeks. "Mommy, look!" Chloe shouted, pointing toward the altar. "It's him! It's the prince from my drawing!" Several people turned to look at them. Julia felt her cheeks burn with embarrassment. "Shh, Chloe, whisper." But Chloe didn't listen. She stood up on her chair and kept pointing. "He has the same eyes as me, Mommy. The same blue eyes," the whispers began. The elegant ladies turned to look at the blonde girl, shouting from the back row. Julia tried to calm her, but Chloe was too excited. At that moment, Ethan looked back. His eyes met Julia's, and then they focused on Chloe. He froze completely. His face changed color. Marcus asked him something, but Ethan didn't respond. He only looked at the girl who was pointing at him and smiling. The music changed. It was time for the bride's entrance. Victoria appeared at the garden entrance, spectacular in her white dress that had cost more than Julia's car. She walked slowly toward the altar, smiling for the photographers. But Ethan wasn't looking at her. His eyes remained fixed on Chloe. "Does that man know me, Mommy?" Chloe asked, now in a quieter voice. "Is he looking at me a lot?" "I don't know, my love." Victoria reached the altar and took Ethan's hands. The priest began the ceremony. Julia tried to pay attention, but she noticed that Ethan kept turning back toward them. Victoria noticed too. Every time Ethan looked back, she squeezed his hands harder. "The rings, please," the priest said. Marcus handed the ring to Ethan. At that moment, Chloe let go of Julia's hand and started walking toward the altar. "Chloe, no!" Julia whispered. But it was too late. The girl walked down the central aisle while everyone watched her. She reached where Ethan was and looked up at him. "Are you the prince from the story?" she asked in her clear, innocent voice. "Mommy has your picture in her room. She says you're the daddy who is in heaven, but you're here." The silence was absolute. 500 guests were speechless. The photographers stopped taking pictures. The priest didn't know what to do. Ethan knelt down to Chloe's height. His hands were trembling. "What's your name?" he asked. Victoria let out a choked gasp. The guests began to murmur louder. Julia stood up and quickly walked toward the altar. "Chloe, come here," she said, taking her daughter's hand. Ethan stood up slowly, keeping his eyes on the girl. "Julia, we need to talk." "Not here," she replied, noticing the cameras and the growing murmurs. Victoria approached Ethan and whispered something in his ear. He shook his head. "Is she yours?" Victoria asked, no longer trying to hide her anger. Julia looked at Ethan, then at Victoria, then at the 500 guests who were watching them like a show. "You made your decision," she told Ethan firmly. "Now let me live mine." She picked up Chloe and started walking toward the exit. The guests stepped aside to let her pass. Before reaching the door, Chloe turned back toward the altar and shouted, "Goodbye, Prince Ethan. I hope to see you soon." Julia didn't look back. She walked out of the garden with her daughter in her arms, leaving behind a wedding they would never forget, and a man who had just discovered that his perfect life was a lie. Part 3. The Search for Truth. Ethan couldn't finish the ceremony. After Julia left, he stood at the altar like a statue. Victoria spoke to him. The priest waited. The guests murmured, but he heard nothing. He only saw Chloe's blue eyes, identical to his own. "Liam, let's continue," Victoria whispered, squeezing his arm. "I can't." "What do you mean you can't? There are 500 people here." Ethan took off his microphone and walked toward the exit. Victoria followed him, furious. "You can't just leave like this." "I need to think." "Think about what? About that woman who came to ruin our wedding?" Ethan stopped and looked at her. "That child looks like me, Victoria. So what if she does? Children look like a lot of people. She has my eyes, exactly my eyes." Victoria took a deep breath and changed her tone. "Fine. We'll sort all this out tomorrow, but today we finish the wedding." "No." Ethan got into his car and drove away, leaving Victoria in the garden with 500 confused guests and an explanation to give. That night, Ethan didn't sleep. He stayed in his study, looking at old photos of Julia on his phone. He had saved some, though he told himself he had deleted them. Chloe was 2 years old. If she was his daughter, Julia had been pregnant when they broke up. Why hadn't she told him anything? The next day, he called Marcus, his best friend from college. "Do you know any discreet lab for DNA tests?" "Are you serious?" "I need it, Marcus." "Is that child yours?" "I don't know, but I need to know." Marcus gave him the contact for a private lab. Then Ethan called Olivia, the only mutual friend he had with Julia. "Olivia, I need to talk to Julia." "Ethan, I don't think it's a good idea. Please, I just need 5 minutes. She doesn't want to see you. It's about Chloe." There was a long pause. "I'll call you back." An hour later, Olivia called him back. "Julia agrees to see you, but with conditions. In a public coffee shop. Witnesses. And if she says it's over, it's over." "Perfect." They met at a Starbucks in Midtown. Julia arrived alone, with dark circles under her eyes, looking tired. She sat across from him without greeting him. "You have 10 minutes. Is Chloe my daughter? Why do you want to know? To take her away from me? To buy my silence? To know the truth?" Julia stared at him. "You want the truth? The truth is I tried to tell you. I sent you emails. I called you. I even went to your office. I never received anything." "Seriously?" "Nothing." Ethan shook his head. Julia took out her phone and showed him a folder of emails. 42 emails, Ethan. 42. All returned or unanswered. Ethan read the dates. They were all from 3 years ago, when he started his relationship with Victoria. "I never saw those emails." "Well, someone saw them for you." Ethan felt a cold sensation in his stomach. Only one person had access to his personal email. His assistant. And his assistant took orders from Victoria about what was important and what wasn't. "Julia, I didn't know." "Didn't know what? That I was pregnant? That I needed help? That your daughter was born and you didn't have a penny for her diapers?" "I didn't know anything, I swear." Julia stood up from the table. "Your 10 minutes are up." Wait, I want to do a DNA test. Why? To be sure? And then what? You'll marry Victoria and forget about us again? Ethan remained silent. He had no answer. I accept the test, Julia finally said, but with conditions. We do it with a lawyer present, and if it turns out you're the father, you're not going to disappear from her life whenever you feel like it. I agree. And one more thing, Ethan. I'm not the same girl who waited for your calls. If you hurt Chloe, you'll never see me again in your life. Part 4. The Overthrow of Lies. That night, Ethan arrived home and found Victoria waiting for him. Where were you? Sorting out yesterday's mess. Did you talk to that woman? Her name is Julia. I don't care what her name is. Did you convince her to stay away? Ethan looked at her. Victoria was perfect as always. Impeccable makeup. Expensive dress. Calculated smile. Did you know Julia had sent me emails? Victoria didn't answer immediately. What are you talking about? My assistant blocks emails under your orders. Did you tell her to block Julia's? Ethan, you're being ridiculous. Answer me, Victoria sighed. That woman was your past. I am your future. I did what I had to do. Ethan felt his world falling apart. Victoria had known all along. She had intentionally blocked Julia. Did you know she was pregnant? I assumed something was going on. But what difference does it make? You had already made your choice. Ethan stood up from the sofa. Where are you going? Away from you. Ethan, don't be dramatic. Tomorrow we reschedule the wedding and the problem will be solved. He stopped at the door. There is no wedding, Victoria. It's over. You're going to throw everything away for an affair from 3 years ago? I'm going to get to know my daughter. I want to be the dad I deserve to be. And I want to be with someone who doesn't lie to me. Victoria approached, lowering her voice. If you leave me, I'll ruin you. My father can make your company disappear in a week. Do it. Excuse me? Do it. I don't care anymore. Ethan walked out of the hotel, under the gaze of 200 shocked guests. The photographers followed him to his car, shouting questions he didn't answer. Shouting questions he drove aimlessly for 2 hours. Finally, he stopped in front of Julia's house. It was 11 at night. All the lights were off. He stayed in the car, debating whether to knock on the door or not. The light in the living room came on. Julia appeared at the window, saw him, and opened the door. What are you doing here? I broke up with Victoria. And I want to be here, with Chloe, with you. Julia crossed her arms. Because you broke up with your rich fiancé. Because I realized that the last 3 years have been a lie. And because I want to make up for lost time. Ethan, it doesn't work like that. I know. But I have to try. Julia looked at him for a long time. You can be part of Chloe's life, but I'm not ready to trust the man who once chose everything else over me. What do I have to do? Show me that you've changed, not with words, with actions. Julia walked into the house and closed the door. Ethan stayed on the sidewalk, looking at the house where the 2 most important people in his life lived. The next day, the newspapers published the news. Tech magnate cancels $1 million wedding for secret child. Ethan didn't read any of them. He was too busy planning how to be the dad Chloe deserved. Part 5. The first steps towards family. 2 weeks had passed since the dinner at the hotel. Ethan visited Chloe 3 times a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays after school, and Saturday mornings. Julia set the rules. The visits were in public spaces, lasted a maximum of 2 hours, and she was always present. That Tuesday, Ethan arrived at the park with a new soccer ball. Chloe ran towards him, shouting with excitement. Daddy, Ethan, let's play soccer. Sure, princess. Julia watched from a bench, pretending to read a book. In reality, she watched his every move. Ethan was good with Chloe. She couldn't deny it. He was patient, affectionate. He gave her his full attention. But Julia couldn't forget. 3 years of silence are not erased with 2 weeks of visits. After playing, they went for ice cream. Chloe sat between the two, chattering non-stop. At school, I told everyone I have a daddy. Miss Maria asked me why he hadn't come before, but I didn't know what to tell her. Julia and Ethan exchanged uncomfortable glances. "What did you tell her?" Ethan asked. "That you were working in a place very far away, like the daddies in the movies." Julia felt a knot in her throat. Her daughter had invented a story to protect her father's absence. "Chloe, do you want Daddy Ethan to meet your teacher?" "Yes. And I also want him to come to my house. I want to show him my room." "We'll see, my love." That night, after putting Chloe to bed, Julia called Ethan. "We need to talk. Tell me." Chloe is asking a lot of questions. She wants to know why we don't live together, why she can't go to your house, why we only see each other at the park. "What have you told her?" "That we are friends. But she's not stupid, Ethan. She notices the tension." "What do you propose? That we be more natural? That we stop treating each other like two strangers who share a daughter? Does that mean you trust me?" Julia was silent for a moment. "It means I trust that you love Chloe. Everything else, not yet." The following Saturday, Julia allowed Ethan to take Chloe to his apartment. He had bought toys, books, and prepared everything to welcome her. Chloe ran in, amazed by the place. "Your house is very big, Daddy. Do you like it?" "Yes, I can see everything." Ethan showed her every room. Chloe was especially excited about the study, full of computers and screens. "Do you work here?" Yes, I do my projects here. "Can I help you?" "Of course." They spent the morning playing video games and watching movies. Chloe was happy, but suddenly she became serious. "Daddy, Ethan, why does Mommy get sad when she talks to you?" Ethan didn't know what to answer. "Does she get sad?" "Yes. Sometimes she cries when she thinks I'm not looking." "Do you know why she cries?" "I think it's because you didn't live with us before." "Didn't you love us?" Ethan felt his heart break. "Of course I loved you, Chloe. It's just that sometimes adults make mistakes. And you won't make any more mistakes. I'll try never to make them again." That afternoon, when Julia went to pick up Chloe, the girl was quiet. "Is everything okay, my love?" "Mommy, why do you cry when you talk to Daddy Ethan?" Julia froze. She looked at Ethan, who was just as surprised. "I don't cry, Chloe." "Yes, you do. I've seen you. Is it because you don't want us to be a family?" "Chloe, Olivia says her mommy and daddy fought a lot before they lived together again." "Did you two fight too?" Julia didn't know what to say. Ethan approached. "Chloe, sometimes adults need time to fix things. But are you going to fix them?" Julia and Ethan looked at each other. Neither of them had an answer. "Come here, my love," Julia said, hugging her daughter. "The important thing is that we both love you very much. But you two don't love each other?" The silence was long and heavy. That night, Chloe wouldn't sleep. She was restless. She kept asking questions. "Mommy, is Daddy Ethan going to disappear again?" "No, my love. He's going to keep coming to see you." "But is he going to live far away forever?" "I don't know, Chloe. Can I go sleep at his house sometimes?" "Not yet." "Why?" Julia sighed. She didn't know how to explain the complexity of the situation to a 2-year-old. "Because adult things are complicated. But I just want us to be together." Julia hugged her daughter tighter. Chloe was right. She also wanted them to be together. But the fear was stronger than the desire. "Sleep, my love. Tomorrow will be a better day." But Chloe didn't sleep well. She woke up several times screaming. Julia calmed her down. But the girl kept asking for her daddy. At 3 in the morning, Julia took out her phone and sent Ethan a message. "Chloe is worried. Tomorrow we need to talk seriously about how we are going to handle this. We can't keep pretending we're just two strangers who share a daughter." The response came immediately. "You're right. What do you propose?" Julia looked at Chloe, who had finally fallen asleep hugging her teddy bear. "I don't know, but we have to do something. Chloe doesn't deserve to pay for our problems." "I agree. Let's do what's best for her." Julia turned off her phone and stayed awake the rest of the night thinking. For the first time in 3 years, Liam and she agreed on something. Chloe was the most important thing. Now they had to figure out how to be the parents their daughter needed. Part 6. The True Path to Family. After Chloe's difficult night, Julia and Ethan met at a coffee shop near the girls' school. This time, there was no tension in the air, only genuine concern for their daughter. "Chloe asked me last night if you were going to disappear again," Julia said directly. "I'm never going to disappear. You can't promise that, Ethan. No one can." "I can." Julia looked at him skeptically. "You know what? Prove it. Not with words, with actions." Ethan nodded. She was right. Words were no longer enough. "What do you need me to do?" "Be consistent. Show up when you say you're going to show up. Don't cancel plans. Let Chloe know she can count on you." "Done. And one more thing. Stop treating me like your enemy. Chloe notices it. Kids feel everything." Ethan took a deep breath. "You're right. I'm sorry." For the first time in weeks, Julia looked at him without harshness. "I'm sorry too. I know it's not easy for you either." From that day on, everything changed. Ethan started visiting Chloe every day after school. At first, Julia stayed. But little by little, she started giving them space. Ethan took Chloe to the park, helped her with her homework, read her stories. A week later, Ethan made a decision that surprised everyone. He resigned as CEO of his company. "Are you crazy?" Marcus asked him. "It's still my company, and it will remain so. But I don't need to be there 12 hours a day. Is this for Chloe? This is because I want to be a good dad. And a good dad is present." Ethan hired a general manager and remained as chairman of the board, working only part-time. With his new schedule, he could pick Chloe up from school, take her to her dance classes, play with her in the park. Julia noticed the change immediately. "You didn't have to quit your job," she said one day while watching Chloe on the swings. "I didn't quit. I just changed my priorities." "Don't you regret it?" "Regret what? Missing boring meetings to see my daughter laugh?" "Never." Julia felt something strange in her chest. It was the first time in years that she saw Ethan truly happy. A month later, Chloe had her first dance recital at school. Julia was nervous, adjusting her daughter's tutu for the 10th time. "Mommy, are Daddy Ethan and you coming?" "Yes, my love. We'll both be there." "Are you going to sit together?" Julia hesitated for a moment. "Yes, we'll sit together." In the school auditorium, Julia saved 2 seats in the front row. Ethan arrived 5 minutes before the show started with a bouquet of small flowers for Chloe. "Nervous?" Julia asked him. "More than for my business presentations." When Chloe took the stage with her group, both parents were filled with pride. She was the smallest girl, but she danced with a huge smile. At the end of her dance, Chloe saw them in the audience and blew them a kiss. "She's perfect," Ethan whispered. "Yes, she is." After the recital, they went for ice cream to celebrate. Chloe was ecstatic, talking non-stop about the dance. "Did you see when I messed up a step but kept dancing? You were the best of all," Ethan said. "Really?" "Really." Chloe clung to her daddy's arm. "Can you come to all my recitals?" "All of them, I promise." That night, when Julia tucked Chloe into bed, the girl asked her, "Mommy, did we look like a normal family today?" Julia felt a knot in her throat. "What is a normal family, my love?" "One where Mommy and Daddy are happy and don't look sad when they talk." "Did we look sad today?" "No." "Today you looked like you do in the photos I have from when you were a baby." Julia froze. She hadn't known Chloe had seen those photos. "What photos, my love?" "The ones in your drawer where you're pregnant and Daddy Ethan is hugging you." Julia had stored those photos away when they broke up, thinking she would show them to Chloe someday. She hadn't known her daughter had found them. "Do you like looking at them?" "Yes, they look very happy." "Are you going to be like that again?" Julia didn't know what to answer. "Sleep, my love. We'll see what happens." After Chloe fell asleep, Julia stayed in the living room, thinking. She took the photos out of the drawer and looked at them. In them, Ethan and she looked completely in love. His hands were on her pregnant belly. They both smiled as if they were the happiest people in the world. What had happened to that couple? Where had they gotten lost? Her phone vibrated. It was a message from Ethan. "Thank you for letting me be part of Chloe's recital. It was the happiest day I've had in years." Julia looked at the photo where Ethan was hugging her when she was pregnant. Then she read the message again. For the first time in 3 years, she allowed herself to think that maybe, just maybe, not all was lost. She replied, "Thank you for being there. Chloe is very lucky to have you." Ethan's reply came immediately. "I'm the lucky one to have both of you." Julia turned off her phone without replying, but she went to sleep with a smile on her face. Part 7. A new dawn for the Hayes-Pierce family. A year had passed since Chloe's recital. The family routine had become natural. Ethan picked Chloe up from school on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, Julia worked late at her studio, while Ethan stayed home with Chloe. Weekends were spent together, doing family activities. Julia had noticed the changes in Ethan. He was no longer the work-obsessed man she had known. Now, he was on time for everything. He knew the names of Chloe's friends. He had learned to braid his daughter's hair. "Daddy, will you teach me how to use the computer?" Chloe asked one Saturday, while they were having breakfast at Julia's house. "Of course, Princess. What do you want to learn?" "I want to draw a digital picture for Mommy." Julia smiled from the kitchen. These everyday scenes had become normal, but they still surprised her. Ethan in her kitchen, Chloe on his shoulders, the three of them having breakfast together, as if it had always been this way. "You know what?" Ethan said, as he spread jam on Chloe's toast. "We could take a computer course together. That way, Mommy can also learn new things for her work." "Yeah!" Chloe shouted. "All together." Julia approached the table. "I don't need you to teach me about computers, Ethan. It's not about teaching you. It's about learning together as a family." The word family hung in the air. Julia and Ethan looked at each other. Lately, that word appeared more often in their conversations. That afternoon, they went to Central Park. Chloe ran to the playground while Julia and Ethan sat on a nearby bench. It was a sunny day. Perfect for being outdoors. "Can I ask you something?" Ethan said. "Of course. What was your life like before I reappeared?" Julia thought for a moment. "Quiet. Routine. Chloe and I had our routine. Work, school, park, home. On weekends, we went to the movies or to Olivia's house. Were you happy? I was functional. I had everything under control. And now?" Julia looked at him. Ethan had a serious but not demanding expression. "Why do you ask?" "Because I want to know if you're happier too, or if you just tolerate me for Chloe." Julia was honest. "At first I tolerated you for Chloe, but not anymore." "And now what?" "Now I don't know. I'm confused." Ethan nodded. "I'm confused too. But I know that these have been the best months of my life. Better than when I was single and a millionaire. Better than anything I've ever lived before." Chloe ran towards them, interrupting the conversation. "Mommy! Daddy! Did you see how I went down the slide?" "Yes, Princess, you were very brave. Can we come back tomorrow?" "Tomorrow is Sunday. We can go have breakfast and then go to the park," Ethan said. "The three of us?" "The three of us." That night, after putting Chloe to bed, Julia and Ethan stayed in the living room having tea. It was something that had started happening naturally. He didn't leave immediately after Chloe fell asleep. "Can I ask you something now?" Julia said. "Of course. Do you miss your old life? The business? The parties? Victoria?" Ethan laughed. "Victoria? Not at all. Victoria was never loved Julia. She was convenience. She was convenient for business. I was convenient for her status. And the business? The business is still there, but now it's a tool, not an obsession. Don't you get bored?" "Bored?" "Julia, yesterday Chloe taught me how to make colorful bracelets. The day before yesterday, she explained to me why dinosaurs can't be pets. On Friday, she asked me to tell her how clouds are made. How could I be bored?" Julia smiled. It was true. Ethan had completely changed. "And what is going to happen with us?" she asked. "I don't know, but I like what we have now." "What do we have now?" "Peace, trust, a happy Chloe, us not fighting." Julia nodded. "I feel good about that too. But sometimes I wonder if it's enough. If Chloe won't get confused." "Confused about what?" About why we live separately if we get along. About why we're not like other families. Ethan moved a little closer on the sofa. We could be like other families. What do you mean? We could live together. We could try to be something more than friends. Julia felt her heart skip a beat. Ethan, don't answer me now. Just think about it. At that moment, Chloe appeared in the living room in her unicorn pajamas and clutching her teddy bear. I can't sleep. What's wrong, my love? Julia asked. I had a weird dream. Do you want to tell us? Chloe climbed onto the sofa between them. I dreamed that Daddy Ethan was going to live very far away, and I couldn't see him anymore. Julia and Ethan exchanged glances. That's not going to happen, Princess, Ethan said. I'm not going anywhere. Do you promise me? We promise. And is Mommy going to stay too? Mommy will always be with you, Julia said. And are you two going to be together? The two adults fell silent. Come here, my love, Julia said, taking her to her bed. But Chloe didn't move. I want to stay here with you. Chloe, please, just for tonight. Julia looked at Ethan. He nodded. It's okay, but just for tonight. Chloe settled in between them, her head in Julia's lap and her feet in Ethan's. In 5 minutes, she was fast asleep. Should we take her to her bed? Ethan whispered. Leave her. She looks so peaceful. They stayed there in silence, watching Chloe sleep. The house was completely calm for the first time in years. The three of them were together and at peace. Julia, Ethan whispered. Yes. Does this feel right? Yes, she replied. It feels right. Ethan stayed until morning, sleeping on the sofa while Julia and Chloe slept on the other. When Chloe woke up and saw them both there, she smiled as if it were the most natural thing in the world. Good morning, family, she said, and ran to the kitchen to get cereal. Julia and Ethan looked at each other. Maybe Chloe was right. Maybe they were already a family. They just needed to realize it. Part 8. The Outcome and the Real Beginning. A year later, Julia woke up to the sound of laughter in the kitchen. She looked at the clock. 7:30 in the morning. She got up and found Ethan and Chloe making pancakes, both wearing aprons and covered in flour. Mommy! Chloe shouted. Daddy is making star-shaped pancakes, but they look like weird clouds. Hey, they're perfect. Ethan defended himself, flipping one that definitely didn't look like a star. What are we celebrating? Julia asked, kissing Chloe's forehead. Daddy stayed last night because I had nightmares, and now we're making thank you breakfast. Julia looked at Ethan. He shrugged. She asked me to stay. I couldn't say no. It was true. In the last year, Ethan had stayed over several times. When Chloe was sick, when there was a storm, and the girl was scared. When Julia had to work very late. Always on the sofa, always for Chloe. But Julia had noticed that it no longer felt strange to have him there. On the contrary, it felt complete. And where did you sleep? Julia asked. On the sofa, as always. The sofa is very uncomfortable for sleeping. Ethan looked at her curiously. Are you suggesting something? Chloe interrupted before Julia could answer. Are they ready? Time for breakfast. After breakfast, Ethan went to his apartment to change for work. Julia stayed to get Chloe ready for school. Mommy, why doesn't Daddy live here with us? We've already talked about this, my love. But he's always here. And when he's not, you miss him. How do you know I miss him? Because when he's not here, you look at your phone a lot. Like when I miss my friend Olivia when she doesn't come to play. Julia thought about it. Chloe was right. When Ethan wasn't around, she felt like something was missing. Would you like Daddy to live here? Yes. That way we could have breakfast together every day. And he could read me stories at night. And when I have nightmares, you two can hug me. Julia felt a strange warmth in her chest. The image Chloe was describing sounded perfect. That afternoon, when Ethan went to pick up Chloe from school, Julia was waiting for him, with a serious expression. We need to talk. Ethan sat on the sofa where he had slept the night before. Did something happen? Chloe asked me again why you don't live here. And what did you tell her? That I didn't know what to say. Julia, we've been doing this for a year. A year of being a family without officially being a family. I know. And how do you feel about it? Julia sat next to him, confused, happy, scared. Scared of what? Of everything going wrong again. Of hurting Chloe. Of getting my hopes up. Ethan took her hands. I'm scared too, but I'm more scared of continuing to waste time. Waste time on what? On being with you. On being a real family. On waking up every day seeing Chloe run towards us. Julia felt tears in her eyes. What if it doesn't work? What if it does? At that moment, Chloe came running from school with her pink backpack and a huge smile. Mommy! Daddy! Guess what happened today? What happened, Princess? They both asked at the same time. The teacher told us to draw our family, and I drew the three of us in a house with a dog. With a dog? Ethan asked. Yes, because all happy families have dogs. Can we adopt one? Julia and Ethan looked at each other and laughed. First, we have to sort out some other things, my love, Julia said. What things? Ethan knelt in front of Chloe. Chloe, would you like me to live here with you? Every day. Not just when you're sick. Yes, Chloe shouted, jumping. And can we adopt the dog? Slow down on the dog, Julia said, laughing. Is that a yes? Ethan asked. Julia looked at her daughter, who had eyes bright with excitement. Then she looked at Ethan, the man who had completely changed for Chloe's sake. The man who stayed when Chloe had nightmares, who made deformed pancakes, who had learned to braid hair. Let's try it. Ethan stood up and hugged her. Chloe joined the hug. Are we a real family now? Chloe asked. We were already a real family, my love, Julia said. It's just that now we're going to live in the same house. And the dog? We'll see about the dog, Julia and Ethan said at the same time. And the three of them burst into laughter. Conclusion and final call to action 6 months later. Ethan and Julia were not married. They lived together in a new house they had bought together, with a large yard where Chloe could play. Ethan slept in the guest room. But many mornings, Julia found him in Chloe's room, reading her stories or inventing tales. It was not a fairy tale. There were still difficult days, arguments about money, about Chloe's education, about the future. But there were also family breakfasts, afternoons at the park, nights watching movies, all three of them together on the sofa. And yes, eventually, they adopted a dog. A golden retriever that Chloe named Star, because she shone like the stars Daddy couldn't make in his pancakes. The love was no longer loud like before. It was quiet, constant, made of shared books, peaceful breakfasts and bedtime hugs, and maybe someday they would be ready for more. But for now, they were exactly where they needed to be. Were you moved by the story of Ethan, Julia, and Chloe? This story shows us that true love doesn't always come the way we expect, and that sometimes second chances can be more beautiful than the first time. If this story touched your heart, hit like on this video and share it with someone who believes in the power of families built with patience, forgiveness, and lots of love. Every like helps us continue creating stories that remind us it's never too late to be the person our loved ones deserve. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more stories that will make you believe in true love. Here you will find stories that speak directly to the heart, stories of second chances, of families reuniting, and of love that transcends time. Your subscription means a lot to us and motivates us to continue sharing these hopeful tales. And now we want to get to know you better. What country are you watching from? Write in the comments what part of the world you are from. We love knowing that these stories reach hearts everywhere. See you in the next story.